This video is going to go over the practice test for chapter 3, and it will get you ready for the test, the real test. So let's look at number 1. Hopefully you've done all these questions and you can just check your own, but then also you can kind of review and see how I do them and see how you do them and see if that can help you. All right. Let's look at number 1, identify the terms and like terms in the expression. So what I do here is I'm going to rewrite it down here, 3 minus x plus x squared minus 3x. Now everything that's separated by an addition or a subtraction is a term. So that's a term. That's a term, that's a term, and that's a term. I have 4 terms. And then I get the constants. There's only one constant right here, so that has no like terms. Then I look at this one, the variable x. This one also has a variable x. So those two are like terms. So I'm going to write down like. And then this one has a exponent of 2, which no other variable has an exponent, so that one's doesn't have any like terms. So that's your answer. Okay, this one is simplifying, and we have negative 3 eighths x minus 2 plus 1/2 x minus 9. And I'm going to circle my terms. I have that term, that term, that term, that term. Now to simplify it, you put together your like terms. So I know I have these two. And 1/2, I'm going to make that into the same thing. Same denominator as 3/8, so it's going to be 4/8 x. And then looking at 4/8 and 3/8, I know that 4/8 is bigger than 3/8 in absolute value, so I got to find the difference of it. And then once I find the difference of those two, I know that it will be positive because I start out with more in the positive number. And so 4/8 minus 3/8 equals 1/8. And it's a positive 1/8. So 1/8 x. And then I'm going to put my constants together. A negative 2 plus a negative 9 is a negative 11. And there's your answer. Now, let's do this one. 6.2z minus 8.7 minus 2.3z plus 9.1. I have a term here, I have a term here, term. Now, does this 6.2z have any like terms? It does. That one. Okay, so then I'm just going to take the 6.2z, that one's positive, this one's negative, the positive is greater absolute value, so I take the difference, and so the difference is 6.2 minus 2.3 equals 3.9z, and it's a positive, and then I'm going to take these two right here. Negative 8.7 plus 9.1. The positive's bigger. I just need to find the difference of that. So it's 9.1 minus 8.7 gets me 0.4. And there's more positive, so it's a plus 0.4. And there is my answer. All right, number 4. Here's where we're adding linear expressions. And I see that there's nothing we can do in there. You can't put those together because they're not like terms, and you can't put those together. So then basically you just have 1/3 x minus 8 plus 1/2 x minus 2. And I have 4 terms here, and I need to simplify it. So I'm going to put my x's together. When I do that, 1/3 is 2/6 plus 3/6 equals 5/6 x. So I'm going to start out with 5/6 x, and then I'm going to put my -8 with my -2. I add those together, and I get a -10. And that's my answer. All right, another one. This time, instead of adding linear, or subtracting. Can't do anything there, can't do anything there. But because I have the subtraction, I could either add the opposite, or I'm going to put a 1 here that is always there. You know what? I'm going to do that in black to make it a little bit more obvious. There we go. And then I'm going to distribute that. So what I have is 1/2 x minus 6. -1 times 1/6x is a -1/6x. And -1 times -8 is a +8. And I have 4 terms. Let's put these two together. So 1/2 is the same as 3/6. And if I take 3/6 and I take away 1/6, it leaves me with 2/6 or 1/3 x. And it's positive because 1/2 is bigger. And then I put my -6 with my +8, and I get a +2. And that's simplified. Number 6. Here we start to do some distributive property. So we take the outside and we times it to that term, and we times it to that term. Okay, so 1/4 times 8x is 8/4 x, which is the same as 2x. And then 1/4 times a +20 is a +20/4, which is the same as 5. And then I bring down my 9x. Then I have just 3 terms here. And the only like terms are these two. So I put those together. 11x plus 5 is as simple as I get. All right, another distributive property. This time we're using a negative. So the first thing we do is we do -1.6 times r, which is a -1.6 r. And then we times it by this term. Negative times a positive is going to get me a negative. So 1.6 times 2 is 3.2. And then I bring down my 5. And I have these 3 terms. There you go. This one is not any like terms, so it's -1.6r. These two are both constants, which means they're like. So the +5 is a greater absolute value than the -3.2. So I take the difference. I take 5 minus 3.2, and it gets me a +1.8. And I can't put those together, so that is my simplified answer. All right, we're getting into some factoring now. So this time we're using the GCF. So I have to find the GCF of 48 and 8. So I take my smaller number, 8, and I know the factors of that would be 1, 2, 4, 8. Those are all my factors. Now I got to find the greatest one that goes into 48. Well, 8 goes into 48, so 8 is my greatest common factor. Then I just divide each side by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1, so that's x, plus 48 divided by 8 is 6y. And that is how you do the factoring. All right, now we're going to factor out a coefficient. So 1/9, put that on the outside, and then I just divide each of these terms by 1/9. 1/9 divided by 1/9 is just x. And then a positive divided by a positive is going to be a positive. And if I go 10/9, instead of divided by 1/9, we'll times it by the reciprocal. Then that becomes a 1, that becomes a 1. That equals 10/1, which is the same as 10. So my answer is 1/9 parenthesis x plus 10. All right, now it tells us to factor out a negative 4.3. So I do negative 4.3 parentheses, and then all I have to do is divide this by 4.3 and divide this side by 4.3, that term I should say. And it's a negative 4.3 and a negative 4.3. So a positive divided by a negative, 12.9 divided by 4.3 equals 3. But it was a positive divided by a negative, so it's going to be a negative, and it's a b. And then a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So 21.5 divided by 4.3 equals 5. And I think I have it, but with this one I want to check to make sure I got my positive and negatives right. So negative 4.3 times 3 is a positive 12.9b. And then negative 4.3 times a positive 5 is a negative 21.5, which is exactly what I started with. So I know I did it right. So this right here is my answer. Number 11. All right. So we have 5 people getting a movie ticket, a drink, and a popcorn. And since they're all getting just one of each, what we can do is we can put the ticket, 6.25, plus they get a drink, 2.75, plus popcorn, 3. And because there's 5 people getting them, we're going to do that. So let's do the parentheses first, and we'll put 6.25 plus 2.75 plus 3 equals $12 for each person. Now, 5 times 12 is 60. So for one person, it's going to cost $12 to go to the movie, but because we have 5, it's going to be $60. All right, this is the one you've all been waiting for. This is the one that's kind of tricky. I want to teach you a method that I want you to stick with in terms of getting a problem like this, okay? It says a rectangular swimming pool has a length of L and a width of 4 less than L. How much does it cost to border the outside of the pool using 1-yard tiles that cost $4 each? So let's find the perimeter. Okay. There's my pool. The length is L, and the width is L minus 4. Now to find the perimeter, you're going to do, you have to do the length plus the width, and with a rectangle, you times that by 2, and you'll be good. All right, so let's fill in this. So it's 2, the length is L, plus my width is L minus 4. So let's put these together here. So it's 2 parentheses 2L minus 4. And then when I distribute that, it gets me 4L minus 8. So perimeter equals 4L minus 8. Now it's $4 for each, so now I have to take $4 times the perimeter, which is 4L minus 8. That's 16L minus 32. And that is the total cost. Okay? So what I want you to do is when you have one of these, and you'll have one on the test, use this formula. Find the perimeter. And the perimeter of a rectangle is the length plus the width times all of that by 2. And then you can figure it out from there. Once you have the perimeter, just here, then you have to times it by how much each tile cost. And then you'll get your final answer, which is right here. Number 13, a square patio has a perimeter. Now, I like a square patio because that means each side is the same and there's 4 sides. So I'm going to take my 16x plus 12, that's the total perimeter. I'm going to divide it by 4, divide by 4. Basically, this is just factoring. So I put the 4 on the outside, and it gets me 4x plus 3. That would be 4 lengths at 4x plus 3. It just wanted 1, so my answer to this is 4x plus 3. That is the length of the patio. Number 14, evaluate the expression. Okay, so we have negative 5x plus 2.5x, that's a decimal point, plus 4.5 minus x plus 3. So I have a bunch of terms here. 1 term, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I know what x is. I could put x in right now and then put them all together, but I'm going to combine my like terms together. So I'm going to combine these together. A negative 5 plus a 2.5 is a negative 2.5x, and then I have a minus x there, and I'm going to add the opposite. So that gives me a negative 3.5x. So that's putting together all of my x's. Now I have this and this as a like term. I'm going to add 4.5 to 3. It gets me a plus 7.5. So I have put all my terms together. 3.5x plus 7.5. Now it tells me x is 3, so I do a negative 3.5 times x, which is times 3, plus 7.5. So a negative times a positive is a negative. 3.5 times 3 is a negative 10.5. And then I have to add a positive 7.5. And I have a bigger absolute value of my negative, so I find the difference of those. And it gets me 3. Now it's negative because I have an absolute value more of my negative number. So the answer should be negative 3. All right, last one. Now this one you could do a couple different ways. I'm going to do it where I put in t, or 5 for t, and then I figure out the population of the 2 cities. So negative 500 times 5 plus 250,000. And that's going to get me, so So I do the negative 5 times 5 is negative 2,500 plus 250,000. And that gets me 250,000 minus 2,500 equals 247,500. So there's the population of one city. Now the next one is 200 times t, and we know t is 5, plus 300,000. You gotta be careful with these bigger numbers. So 200 times 5 is 1,000 plus 300,000, and that gets me 301,000. So now I want the difference of those two populations. So I take my bigger number, 301,000 minus 2,475, and I get 53,500 is the difference in population. And so if you have to do the unit, these are people. The other way you could do it is you could do that linear expression 200t plus 300,000 minus a negative 500t plus 250,000. And then when you do that, you put all that together, you'll get something t plus another number, or possibly minus a number, however you put those together, and then you put in your t. I decided to just go right to finding one population, finding another population, and then finding the difference between those two. Okay? All right, hopefully this gets you ready. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can email me. But I hope you're ready.